Charlie, those politicians don't seem to give a crap about ordinary people. This is bad. What the hell is going on? Oh my god, this is so confusing.
Confusing? You want to talk about confusing? I stumbled upon huge issues with the liberal narrative describing the history of Western modernity. How's that for confusing?
What the hell are you talking about?
We are being told that we're moving toward progress, but get this, men and women are actually more and more unwell. And I've got 2 books to prove it. Check this out. Take a look at this.
Jesus Christ, Charlie.
Jesus Christ. Exactly, Mac. Jesus Christ. The reduced significance of Christianity is wrapped up in this too. But do you want to know about progress? I've waited all day to talk about progress. Please, Mac, I'm dying to talk about progress. This term progress keeps popping up. Progress. Progress. Everyday progress. They are saying all the time things are getting better for everyone. We've got people saying that we've got sexual freedom, so people gotta have better relationships than, like, in the 1950s, right? 'Cause the American 1950s atomized suburban existence at its worst certainly was what all of past human communities have been like historically, right? We've got people saying people are getting richer, so they gotta afford to have children. That's gotta be logical. I mean, I gotta go find out if people are doing better. People gotta be happy now, right? So I just Google surveys about life preferences of ordinary people, like, to figure out what ordinary people want and then look at statistics about well-being, mental health, to find out if people are living like they preferred to. So what do I find out? People are really unhappy in our liberal society. That profits have gone to the richest people, and wages have stagnated. Everyone stares at their phones all day and are really atomized. Women and men cannot be themselves psychologically and biologically anymore. Everybody's gotta be on seriously strong medication, or gotta have something seriously altered about their bodies. And instead of saying this is pathological, this is all framed as freedom. And men and women are really lonely, don't have sex and have poor relationships despite having the freedom to pursue many new kinds of relationships. Everybody's a market object now, economically and sexually. It's like liberalism but double. So saying we've progressed while mental health, communities and relationships worsen, something does not add up. So, I thought, aw shit buddy, I gotta dig a little deeper. I mean, you gotta be kidding me. How can all this unwellness be true when I've got boxes full of Steven Pinker? So I start marching my way to Mary and Louise, who I heard got some answers. And I knock on their door, and I say, Mary, Louise, I've got some questions about the progress narrative. And I open the door, and what do I find out? And what do I find out, Mac? There has not been much progress for ordinary women and men in the Western world. Mac, industrialization alienated men and women from social institutions that facilitated complementary cooperation and separated the home economy from the rest of the economy, and separated people from their local community that served useful pre-industrial social and economic functions. Then what about the sexual revolution, Mac? Those who benefited from the sexual revolution were mostly a small group of playboys, and not the majority of ordinary women and men who prefer meaningful relationships. And inadvertently or not, the sexual revolution led women to suppress their emotions in sexual relationships as they will not last anyway, then to have casual sex which they do not get pleasure from, and have all this advocated as empowering, when the outcome is transforming everyone's sexuality into depressing meaninglessness and the consumption of other human beings as products. Then they said that Christianity worked better than we thought, because it in fact provides beneficial social institutions and a sense of community that is vital to people. That Christianity benefited women since it opposed polygamy, created useful economic and social institutions that facilitated relationships effectively, and established stable foundation for child care. Specifically, Christian tradition like marriage was, and is, a useful social institution because it guides one man and one woman into a complementary contract that appreciates them as sexed beings and avoids the violent nature of polygamy. That most women would like to be mothers, but economic conditions, lack of immediate care networks, lack of the extended family, lack of previous experience with children, and unreliable heterosexual relationships making reliable fathers harder to find, are not only prohibiting motherhood, but are all accepted by the liberal mainstream as liberating conditions, when in fact they leave women without support more than ever when they become mothers. And care services and the welfare state, despite good intentions, can only provide provenly inferior care in comparison to care that seeks to replicate forms of Christian pre-industrial care, since they cannot, and should not, replace the strong bond especially between mother and child, or the dynamics and genetic investment of the biological family. Cigarette inhale. While this is obviously a problem as we live in industrialized society which often requires the dispersal of family members for employment reasons, limited time for family duties, and income from two people to sustain the costs of a contemporary home economy.
Okay, Charlie, I've got to stop you right there. Everybody's talking about how women are doing better than before. Aren't we helping women with this liberalism, Charlie? In the news and podcasts, everybody's always talking about equality and gender neutrality, and that bad things that women face today exist precisely because our society still has patriarchal remnants from the past. And Jesus Christ, Charlie, surely Christianity is oppressive towards women? I thought you were a rational guy, Charlie. What is this religious bullshit?
Well, calm down, Mac. We just gotta appreciate those traditions that are empirically proven to benefit especially women and children, and which also guide men to socially responsible roles, such as the role of the husband and the father. All of this requiring careful matchmaking and facilitation through the traditional process of marriage. We don't need to go all Bernie witchy about it. We just need to take social psychology a bit more seriously and understand that Christian traditions existed for their ability to facilitate social and sexual relationships, forming a basis for personal and social stability, not because they had exceptional truth value. The underlying psychology of the matter is that our brains are more in line with some traditions than with industrialized liberalism. So let's just try to understand that the human animal needs a community and reliable relationships, which then require social rituals, which in turn require institutionalization, which ultimately has happened quite successfully through Christianity or Christian-coded culture. And there are more urgent reasons for such an analysis. Modern medicine and liberalized sexual culture have led to drastically reduced appreciation for other people as actual humans, thoroughly medicalized women into suppressing their natural bodily functioning, and effectively stigmatized the normal need for reliable partnership, with all of this leading not only to personal dissatisfaction for most but also to plummeting birth rates. We also need to realize that not only conservatism but also liberal choice feminism largely consider motherhood to be a low-status position, this even being reflected in that motherhood is discussed in fewer than 3% of papers, journal articles, or textbooks on modern gender theory, meaning that many feminist thinkers themselves ignore a large portion of the way most women exist and have existed in the world. Mac. For us to have a culture that guides people into personal well-being and functional relationships, we should look back to traditions and long-term relationships, and not always seek for profits, big romance, and sexual hedonism. This is because the former are time-tested and the latter are ultimately untenable.
Charlie, how in the hell are we going to adopt the lifestyle of early modernity within late-stage capitalism?
Well, it'll be hard in the current cultural climate, but we can at least talk more openly about the studied benefits of monogamous marriage to social, economic, and psychological well-being of not just the two people involved, but to their offspring especially. We should also appreciate motherhood as a conditional state of being that not only relies on material conditions but also on relationships, such as women's mutual support networks, especially in the form of female relatives who have time for assistance in care duties, and another essential condition is a reliable male partner, meaning a committed husband is a categorically superior option to reproducing alone, or with some free-roaming jackass, and then being left alone as a single mother without a support network. Restructuring the culture of an industrialized, capitalist, liberal society into a culture of time-tested social institutions, so that our behavior is more in line with a brain not evolved to withstand the stimuli of modernity, is undeniably a difficult task due to limited personal material conditions but also because of the prevailing political discourse not understanding motherhood practically since industrialization. Liberals prioritize careers for both men and women, and conservatives prioritize the work of the man, with women being left alone at home with care duties, without a network of support. Whereas the answer should be that men and women both should work within, or at least for, the home, with a mother, a husband, and the larger network of support, enabling a stable social structure especially to benefit the growth and well-being of children.
I need to settle down and have more coffee, bro. I'm so fucking confused.